Hello paper crafters, this is Angie at Chicken Scratch. This is the box we're making today, and there's the candy inside. Isn't it so cute? Okay, here's the supplies we're using today, and the stamp set is Wild Bunch. This is the stamp set or the product of the month for June 2026. I'm using basic white cardstock, and I'm stamping it with Memento ink. I'm going to stamp the greeting next, and I'm going to use a Post-it note to cover up the rest of that greeting. The only thing I want to stamp is thank you. So I'm just going to cover that up and then apply the ink, and then I'll remove that Post-it note and then stamp the image. Don't forget to remove that Post-it note, right? I've done that a few times in my life. Okay, so just stamp it on the edge. Now we're going to color this cute little cow with these Stampin' Blend markers. I'm using Crumb Cake, the light and the dark, Ivory, and the new in color called Barely Blush. Okay? While I'm coloring this, I'm going to talk about the product of the month for just a few seconds. Like I said, the Wild Bunch stamp set is the June product of the month. It's available while supplies last. It's $5 once you purchase $75. We are limited to one, so it's not something that I can add to my order and get you. So you do have to spend $75, and then you can pay $5 for this really awesome stamp set. So I hope you guys order it. Okay, so I'm going to put the rest of the coloring on a fast forward mode. The next step is we're going to use this small trimmer, and we're going to cut out this greeting. So I'm trimming it as close as I can on the top and the bottom, and then I'll trim the sides as well, but then we're going to use our scissors to trim the rest of it. So like I said, I'm going to use our scissors to trim on the left and the right. I'm going to use these same scissors to fussy cut this cow out, and just remember that this cow is going to be added to the stitched circle that I die cut with the stylish shape dies. And the reason I mention that is when you're adding an image that you fussy cut to a white base, it's not as noticeable if you're not exactly perfect when you fussy cut an image. So I know you guys prefer dies. I prefer dies, but we don't have this in dies. So I'm just going to fussy cut it. I think it's worth how it looks to fussy cut it. But you always could just stamp this cow on a circle or a square or an oval or a rectangle. So if you're not a fan of fussy cutting, then just stamp him on a circle and he'll look just as good. To make the box, we're using Golden Glow Cardstock that measures 10 by 7.5. On the 10-inch side, we're going to score at 2.5, 5, and 7.5. And then on the 7.5-inch side, we're going to score at 2.5 inches on both sides. So just turn that over and score at 2.5. Don't forget, I have a free PDF on my website that has this box template and all the supplies. So I'm going to fold on all the score lines. I'm going to burnish with my bone folder, and then we're going to cut out this box. So as a reminder, again, I have a box template that has where you do all the cutting, where you add adhesive. First cut is we're going to remove this corner. So I'm going to cut up to that first score line, and then cut over here and remove that corner. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now for the next section, you're going to cut down to that next score line, and you are going to do the same thing on the other side. And then we want to remove half of that square. So just cut that in half and then angle those corners or edges. Angle cut it. Okay, then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So cut half of that off and angle those corners. Now we're going to go to the bottom section and we're going to cut up to that score line and we're going to cut off half of those. So same thing on the other side, cut up to that score line and then cut half of it off and then angle cut those edges. Okay. And then we got one more side to do. So just cut that off and angle cut that. Now you can see how this box is going to go together, but we've got one more thing we've got to do. We are going to make a tick mark on this square only. So that center square, you're going to mark at 1 1/4. That's the middle of that square. We're using an erasable pen and marking at 1 1/4, and then we're going to use our ruler and our stylus. But let's do that to both sides. So again, 1 1/4, we're just making a tick mark. That will be on the free PDF, okay? So I'm going to take the stylus now, and I'm going to line up the edge of the ruler in that corner of the cardstock and use my stylus going up to that tick mark. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side of that square. So just lining up the tick mark with the corner. And you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side, okay? So you've got that existing tick mark. And you're just going to score from the corner up to that tick mark. And we've got one more right there with the corner and score. Next, you're going to fold on those score lines, and you can also use your eraser to erase those tick marks. I forgot to do that. Next, you're going to use a corner rounder to round the top flap of this box. And for this one, I'm using the larger rounder instead of the small one. And you also want to do one side of the Designer Series paper. Next, I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal Plus to add the adhesive. I'm going to add it to the 4 tabs. You could use tear and tape if you prefer, or liquid glue. Okay, so now I'm just going to bring these up and attach them to each side. So there's the first side, and then the next side, and the final one. And now our box works just like that. To close the box, we're going to use a Velcro dot. I'm going to use liquid glue to attach the Designer Series paper. I'm also going to use liquid glue to attach this circle to the box. And then I'm going to use Stampin' Dimensionals to add the cow. Next, I'm going to line up the greeting. So I'm just using that corner punch to kind of hold this up. And so I just want to see where I'm going to put that greeting. And then I'm going to use my liquid glue to adhere it. I'm going to use 2 pieces of linen thread to tie a bow. They're approximately 10 to 12 inches. I just had some scraps in my drawer. So again, 2 pieces of linen thread, and then I'm going to attach it to the box using a mini glue dot. I'm going to use my scissors to trim the ends of the linen thread. And then the next step is to add our embellishments. These are the in color dots, and I'm using the Take Your Pick tool to add 2 of these. Okay, here they are. So stinking cute, right? Okay, so let's open this up and we're going to add the candy. So the first one is this little Reese's cup, and then we're going to add a Hershey nugget, and then we're going to add a Haichu, okay? So let me move that candy aside so that it fits, because all 3 of those fit nicely. And then my favorite candy is this one, so that will fit in there as well, one of those. Okay, that's a wrap for this project. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Have a great day.